Welcome, Possums, to the Offensive Points Free Agent Frenzy. This is our favorite time of the year. We love doing free agency. We love the rookies. We love the Dynasty. We're getting ready for the rookie drafts to see how these teams are going to look come August, I guess. June, you could make it earlier. Anyway, we are Offensive Points, and you are listening on IDP Plus channel. It is your preeminent source for all things fantasy football and betting. Head over to the site. It's still idpguys.org, but right now it is $1 to join and $9.99 after that for a limited time. Guys, there is constant content being posted on the site, and you will be locked, loaded, and ready to rock come draft time. Josh, Billy, what's up?
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and interject here because it's been a month of me not interjecting, so I need to get back to it. I'm happy to be back. I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I missed you guys, and I hope that some people missed me out there, but I doubt that part. So sorry you're stuck with me. I'll be here at least as much as possible. So happy to be back.
There was far less Eagles talk while you were away.
Don't worry. I wore the Eagles shirt on purpose. And then, of course, the background, we'll get into the Eagles. Don't worry.
Can't wait.
Sorry. Just updating our free agency pod since one just broke while we were sitting here talking. Yeah. Good to be back. We missed last week. We apologize for that, but we are back better than ever, and we brought Josh back. So, I mean, what more could people out there ask for? Now you've got all three of our voices back together again, like God intended. Today,
the Holy Trinity, Offensive Points.
Before we even get into what we're doing in the podcast today, why is everybody always so shocked when NFL free agency starts? Why does this happen every year? Like, literally, people were like just freaking out on Twitter about the amount of NFL news. And I'm like, guys, it's literally like the NFL puts out a calendar of when this stuff starts every like August for the next season. So you will know when all of this stuff is coming. There's no need to be this outrageously excited about it. Like, we all know it's coming. It's on the calendar.
To be fair, I'm also like in a bubble of paternity leave over here. So like I looked up when free agency started and I was like, okay, cool. I got a few days until, and then like I forgot about that legal tampering period. So there might be that on the interwebs. Like if you Google when does free agency start, it showed today, wasn't it? Like, so it's Wednesday, March 13th. We started getting news over the weekend, and I don't know why Monday was just a wild ride. And I can't believe it's only been 2 days. It feels like it's been a week of me just refreshing Twitter and all the other internet sites of just all the free agency. I love it. I loved everything about it.
There are 5 days in the calendar year that I really look forward to regarding football, and that is the Super Bowl, free agency, the draft, kickoff, and training camp.
Well, to be fair, free agency takes like at least 2 days. You can be you can't.
Oh, really then you get the June 1st cuts, and you get more free agents. It's the best thing ever.
It's free agency reloaded.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, no, it's been a whirlwind the last couple of days. We play on this pod. I mean, I play on this pod out in January because I knew this week was going to be just a bonanza of free agency. All right, before we get into just going through each, all 3,000 free agents, just kidding. We're only going to do the relevant fantasy offensive ones. But before we get into that, we need to talk about two things that
didn't happen, obviously.
Going to happen. Damn. Josh, thank you. He is now a Bear, so that is good. I'm glad Joe will get to know him very well this season, maybe, as he mentors a young Caleb Williams, I'm sure. Before we get into that, though, Justin Fields, Joe, was not traded. It seems like he doesn't have a market, and the team's shriveled up. So, Joe, before we get into the free agents, what do you think about Justin Fields not being traded, and do you think he will prior to the draft?
So that's a really good question, Billy, because I don't know what the fuck is going on right now with any of this. The reports are the Bears didn't want to trade Justin Fields because they hadn't met with Caleb Williams yet. They don't want to trade him away, and then, God forbid something happens with Caleb Williams and just kind of be left in the dust there. So I don't really know what's happening. I mean, I said it before on this pod. I think it would be awesome if Fields was a starter this year and we let Caleb Williams just kind of take over midseason. We definitely have the cap space to do it, but then we have to let Justin Fields walk next year. So if you're only getting a 5th round pick in return or a 4th even, I don't see why you wouldn't just keep him on the roster and let him learn. Let Caleb learn.
I just feel like I don't know if it's a Poles thing or if it's a Fields thing. That's what I'm so confused about. Like, I know that they set the bar high. They were like, we want a first round pick, and then they like eventually realized, and then it was a second round pick, and then nobody wanted to do it, which I thought was kind of wild because obviously you got to trade and then sign. But some of these contracts are just wild. Like seeing Kirk Cousins get 4 years, 180 million, and then like to sign Fields to less than that. I assume. I mean, especially not being established as much, you'd think that it'd be cheaper. And then Russell Wilson going to the, I mean, I know we'll get in there, but how has Fields like not gotten traded? Gardner
Well,
Minshew.
the problem is you have to pick up his 5th-year option if you want to keep him. He's going in the last year of his contract, so you can take him as a 1-year rental, and if he balls out, then you have to pay him a ton of money, or you have to sit here and just be like, all right, well, we'll just preemptively get your 5th year, and who's going to make that decision with what Justin Fields has shown the last 3 years? So I think it's just a tough situation.
I feel like it's a win-win, though.
Is the price tag just a 3rd-round pick, though? Like, or is it still a 2nd-round pick? Like, do you think you get him for a 3rd right now? I mean, I'd throw a 3rd at him, even for a 1-year rental.
There's no way the Bears should trade him for a 3rd. Like, I would just keep him at that point, and you can just wait until somebody gets hurt in the season. No, but for another team, why not trade for him? Because even if you do have to pick up that 5th-year option, like, it's your choice. If he balls out this season, pick it up. If he doesn't ball out this season, decline it, and you really didn't lose much. Like,
I think you have to have it in by July, right? You have to have it picked up by July.
I don't know. I guess I don't know the workings of it.
Okay, so if you pick the 5th-year contract up, you don't.
Well, so then I would wait.
You don't have to sign him to a new contract, right? It's just like you have to pay the 5th-year deal of the deal,
yeah.
Right?
Which isn't it? What it's league average for like the top 15 or something.
So it's not that.
I don't know.
Much. It's not signing him to a 6-year contract. You know what I mean? Like I mean, it's what a quarterback goes for at this point.
Well, then if that is the case, then you just have the Bears decline it right now and then trade for him because it's already declined. So you don't even have to make that choice, and then you can deal with it after the season. I don't know.
But then you either have to extend him or some other desperate team can throw a ton of money at him, and then you're out on him. Like, it's just a really sticky situation.
You're not trading that much for him. If he ends up being awesome, then you could have even traded a late first if you were one of these teams. I'm not saying you would trade a top 10 pick, but if you're a late team, I don't see why not. Why wouldn't you at least try it? I don't know. Pittsburgh's the team I'm most confused about. I mean, we'll get to them with the Russell Wilson thing, but why? Why not at least try? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, they have a quarterback on the roster. If he doesn't work out,
I have a theory.
Like, you just let him go. It's okay. Like, not really that big of a deal. But his upside's much higher than Kenny Pickett's, so you would have at least got a chance to see him. But I don't know.
I have a theory about Pittsburgh. I think they're still going to get Justin Fields. I think that they got Russell Wilson on a 1-year, $1 million deal. If Russell Wilson wants to stay in the league, he's going to have to be that veteran presence, kind of mentor to these young guys. And Justin Fields learning from Russell Wilson, it hasn't been pretty the last 3-4 years, but at the same time, he is a great quarterback, or has been, and can be like in the league for 5 to 10 years still as a backup, as a veteran presence in the locker room. I mean, Russell Wilson's really going to have to put on his big boy pants at this point. Either this is going to be, you have to do it right now and you get your contract and then you play football again, or you turn into the veteran presence. Like, I mean, look at Joe Flacco coming back at age 40 playing football. I mean, like, Russell Wilson isn't done yet. I mean, he can be a backup, and I'd love to have him as a backup for $1 million. So I think the Fields combo, it's possible still, and they don't have to sign him yet. So, like, you can really figure it out, have 2 quarterbacks, I mean, and not pay them a whole lot combined. So
that's fair. I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but I'm almost saying just go the complete opposite direction. Trade the Commanders, get like 3 or 4 of their first-round picks, get the second pick this year, pick Marvin Harrison Jr., and just keep Fields and just say fuck it and keep going with what your plan was originally, and then you have all of the Commanders' first-round picks for the foreseeable future.
Do it again next year.
We got Tyson Bagent. If it doesn't work out, we'll be good.
Or,
Exactly.
honestly, you could trade back to the third even, like if the Patriots were interested in that, like if they really thought you guys were going to still draft a quarterback, maybe they really want Drake May or whoever. And then, so like you trade it to Washington, you get their first round pick next year and whatever else. And then you trade it back to the Patriots and get their probably another second round pick this year or something like that.
And then you go back to the Cardinals.
No. Then you got to stop. Then you got to
Giants.
stop and grab Marvin Harrison. You got to stop eventually. And I think it's right at number 3. If I'm being
they trade it and then take JJ McCarthy at 9.
Right?
Oh, well,
if you really
whatever.
needed a quarterback,
Are you over here? Are you touting JJ McCarthy now?
I mean, if you're going to sit him behind Justin Fields, why not? Like that, you have JJ McCarthy sitting for 2 years. If you pick up the 5th year, why not just leave him on the bench for 2 seasons? Let him learn from Justin Fields. Everybody already thinks he's like Justin Fields, like a better Justin Fields anyway, which is ridiculous, but they already think it, so might as well take him.
I like
and
that
just
idea.
sit
I
him.
think we should trade back one by one to pick 9, pick McCarthy, get like 38 picks in the next 5 drafts, and just go to hell.
Dude, honestly, the
incredible.
JJ McCarthy bump is something we need to talk about, but not on this pod. I need to talk about that because I was high on him and you were low on him, Bill. And now I don't understand because I was never this high on him. And he's just like in the eighth, 6th pick now.
You're taking him knowing that Justin Fields is starting.
No.
For 2
I agree with
seasons.
your conversation about the Bears.
sense.
I'm talking about just in the whole thing why he's being mocked at number 6 right now.
I don't think he's the first round pick. I don't think he's the first round pick.
Billy Double
first round pick
had
at
down
20.
on that while you were gone.
Don't worry. Yeah, exactly. I've already been through this rant. We don't need to do it again.
Oh, okay.
All
Sorry,
right.
my bad.
We'll move on quickly. T. Higgins has officially requested a trade. Have been saying that he was leaving the Bengals this season for the longest time. It hasn't fully come to fruition yet because he was franchise tagged. But what do you guys think is going to happen to T. Higgins, and do you think he's actually going to be traded?
So I want to start this off just because I think that he wants to be traded because he watched them do absolutely nothing in the free agents. Like if you're going to try to go for a push like this, this team's good. We know T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, and Burrow are a deadly combo. You've added absolutely nothing in free agency for the most part. Like, this team didn't change much. Like you lost and you gained a little bit here and there, but they didn't go out and make any flashy moves. They cut Joe Mixon and correct me, who's the running back they signed?
They got Zach Moss. They're set.
Zach Moss, sorry. But like, I'm not saying it's bad. It's lateral. Everything they did was lateral. And it's like, why would T. Higgins want to stay on this team when he can go potentially, somebody can trade for him and be on a better team.
Well, they're just not going to give him
just get the bag.
he wants.
Yeah, there's that too. But
my thing with Higgins is right now, this year, he's the 10th highest paid wide receiver. And he's coming off an injured campaign, free agent next year. He wants an extension. And in 2025, they got Hendrickson, BJ Hill, Jamar Chase, Mike Hilton, and Ted Karras that they have to make decisions on. Those guys are not going to be cheap. So Higgins knows that if he stays there this year, he's toast next year. He's not going to get an extension, and he'll probably be signed to he'll be in the same thing next year. So he either wants that extension now or he wants to be traded just so he gets his money early before he has to take a pay cut to retain these guys.
Can I get out my crystal ball for a second?
Yeah.
Just real quick. I'm holding it in my hands right here. He's getting traded on draft night. That's what my crystal ball's saying. He's getting traded during the draft, and he's going to get traded for a late first-round pick towards the end of the draft. This has the A.J. Brown thing written all over it. It's the exact same situation. And the Eagles swooped in and got T. Higgins. Some team's going to swoop in and get T. Higgins. It's going to happen the same way once again. Crystal ball's saying it.
I'll trade our first-round pick for T. Higgins right now.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give him to the Eagles, but they could. It's possible.
It'd be fun. That'd be a great all-star lineup.
It would be.
There would almost be no room for anything else, but
fantasy would suck. No one's getting anything. But for football, it'd be great.
It would be tough, but yeah, this has draft night trade written all over it. That is going to be the one thing I'm going to be looking forward to in the draft is seeing who trades for T. Higgins because he's gone. It's going to happen. All right. Let's get into the free agency. We've got a ton to get through, so we will go as quickly as possible. We are going to start out with the running backs this evening, and we're going to start out with Josh talking first because Saquon Barkley, Josh, is officially a Philadelphia Eagle.
Dude, I just want to talk about how I did not expect this to happen. There were so many rumors swirling, but there always is, and the Eagles chats are always just crazy. But no, happy to see it. I think the biggest thing that I'm most excited about for this is we committed to a running back for one, but we committed to a bulldozer of a running back. So therefore, the Eagles realized that they need to run the football. At least that's what I hope. I mean, we've seen it the last 3 years where they just have decided we don't need to run the football, but now they have committed to someone, and for 3 years they should be pounding Saquon Barkley into the ground. I mean, not physically, but I really am very excited about Barkley. I think this is actually really good. I think this is not going to quite take away the tush push. I mean, your touchdowns aren't going to be. Saquon Barkley is not going to go out there and get 15, 20 touchdowns, but I think the yards are going to be there, and I think those short QB runs that I've hated all the last 2 years, the little QB draws that they do are done. Like, we're not doing that anymore. We have Saquon Barkley for that. We get 2 yards off of it. We get 8 yards off of it. Saquon Barkley could get 2 or 8 yards or more. So very excited about it. I think this was a solid move. Obviously, letting Swift go was sad to see after last year, especially the first half of the year where he looked amazing. Happy for your Bears, Joe. But I love getting the best running back on the board out there. So a little old, I will say. I mean, obviously banged. He's been through the ringer a couple times, but seemingly healthy at this point in his career. So hoping for the best for them and the Eagles.
Yeah. I mean, you take Saquon, you put him behind the best O-line in football. Even with Kelsey retiring, they're still going to be great. I mean, DeAndre Swift was top 12 in carries last year. So I assume Saquon's going to get a few more than Swift got. So yeah, fire him up. Fantasy stud.
Yep. I don't think there's anything more that needs to be said. I hope Jalen Hurts is not going to be running this year. I've got to get him to pass the ball more. It has to happen. And yeah, with the tush push being at least on life support, we don't know how it's going to go without Kelsey there. But without that being an automatic, I mean, having
I never thought about that.
Best goal line backs in the league. I mean, I don't know. I'm hoping that Saquon Barkley feasts this year, but this might hurt Jalen Hurts. I don't know. I don't know what the philosophy is going to be with them. We're going to have to see how.
I still think on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, there'll still be the opportunity for the tush push. I think they'll still do it. I just don't think it'll be as often. I think there will be that. For one, we saw the variations off of it as they kind of have expanded the last 2 years, but I think at this point they're going to still line up in that formation and just hand it to Saquon and. Or maybe just not even do it at all in some of those situations. But I think it'll still exist, just in a different, like, it's not going to be every time you know exactly what's happening, which, I mean, it was kind of our Achilles heel last year as well. So,
yeah. And then everybody can stop freaking out about banning the play because it, without a Hall of Fame center, it's probably not going to be as automatic as it was for the last couple seasons.
Hopefully Kelsey taught Cam Jurgens how to do that.
That would be nice. All right, let's move on to number 2. Derrick Henry is officially a Baltimore Raven. Joe, what does that do for you?
Everything. I absolutely love this signing. I mean, it fits perfect. He fits perfectly with their scheme. The best offensive line he's ever played with. He should see a lot larger holes than he ever saw in Tennessee, pun intended. And even if his workload is decreased this year, his effectiveness and, I mean, honestly, his box score is probably going to be exactly the same, even if he carries the ball 50 less times this year. So I love this signing.
Yeah, I know everybody says that running backs end at age 30 and for Joe 26. But, running backs end at age 30. Derrick Henry is not the prototypical running back. He is obviously shown that he can continue throughout this career. They got him for 2 years. It's not anything huge. This is hey, we have a Super Bowl caliber team. Let's add one of the best running backs to this team. And I love it for them. I'm sad to see Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins go, although I think Dobbins is still a free agent at the moment. But he is the Achilles. But I mean, it's just nice to see a big running back on this team. I think this also will decrease a little bit of Lamar Jackson's running, but not as much as you'd think. Because I mean, it's not like designed QB runs; it's more scrambling than anything for Lamar. So,
and the two of them could not be any more different in their running style, which makes it that much more terrifying. I just do have a PSA for Dynasty folks, real quick. Braylon Allen is not Derrick Henry. Stop comparing the two of them, please.
I hate comps in general.
I can agree with that. Where it was like a Gus bus, this is going to be Derrick Henry as a freight train coming through. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of goal line work this year. Derrick Henry's I don't know. I might sprinkle a little bit on Derrick Henry leading the league in rushing touchdowns this season because I think there's a good chance he's at the 13-14 range. And I think you're going to be very happy if you have him in Dynasty. Redraft, I have no idea what to do with him ranking wise. We're going to get to that later on, but he's going to be kind of touchdown dependent. I don't think he's going to be running enough to get enough. He's not going to be catching the ball at all, probably. And then just running wise, it's kind of hit or miss. So I don't know. interested to see how this works out. But I mean, he's going to have so many touchdowns. He's going to be Raheem Mostert this year probably. So I don't know.
I've got him at 11 right now. After this,
okay, I don't hate that. It feels a little rich to me, but also the Baltimore Ravens are going to be able to score more than Titans.
It was
redraft?
between him, Etienne, and Pacheco. So like those three, like I was just like,
I can see Derrick Henry's probably a top 10 running back this year with that team. I mean, they have if they sign, they do need to sign another wide receiver. I think they still need that just one extra. I mean, they lost Aguilar or whatever, but
and Beckham.
And I mean, together they equaled one one wide receiver. Together they equaled one wide receiver. So I mean, I think if they got one more person, obviously a healthy Mark Andrews coming back and Lamar. I mean, one more wide receiver and that pass game being a little bit better, that Derrick Henry is going to have a wide open field, and that's why everyone's gonna be so scared of Lamar taking off. That Derrick Henry will be able to. It'll be a weird split that they'll do a lot of play action stuff.
For sure. Okay, let's move on. Josh Jacobs moves from Las Vegas to the Packers. I'll start this one off. I love this. He's better than Aaron Jones, even though I've seen some ridiculous takes this year that Aaron Jones is a better running back than Josh Jacobs. I just don't believe that at all. And then everything they wanted A.J. Dillon to be, that is what Josh Jacobs actually is in real life. Like, I know that it looks good when you're looking at A.J. Dillon, but he's not Josh Jacobs. This running game is going to be good. This Packers team is going to be good, and I fear for Joe and his Bears because if the Packers do this again and are good again, I don't know what Joe's going to do with himself.
Dude, Jacobs was the number one rusher 2 years ago, and then he was on a trash team last year. So I love it for the Packers. I think the Packers actually won free agency, arguably. This signing and Xavier McKinney. I'm sure you could throw another couple teams in there, but I would definitely say those two signings together are phenomenal. Jacobs was just like, you're just getting younger with Aaron Jones was great. I'm not going to say he was better than Jacobs ever in his career, but obviously he was great. They love that kind of bulldozer running back. It's actually kind of funny after seeing last 2 years really being we don't need running backs. And then seeing the running back carousel go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, first 5 signings for all running backs, like out the gate. It's a great year for running backs, and I'm glad that people are starting to get some bags at the running back position because it is important.
Well, they bumped up the cap $30 million, so everybody's like, "All right, we got money. Let's throw some cash out."
Yeah, running backs.
So, I know we hate him though.
Yeah, when I initially saw this contract, I was like, "What the hell are they doing?" But basically, they're just paying him a ton up front, and then they really have the ability to get out of his contract every year after this. So
smart.
It's a pretty good contract. I mean, Jacobs, he had his lowest success rate and lowest yards per carry last year. He was injured. The team sucked. So he is a solid receiver. He's exceptional in pass protection, and LaFleur loves that heavy running game. So I think the way he opens up play action, he's a great fit for this team, and he is definitely a top 10 back from this year.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, top 5.
Maybe top.
Got him at 8. I did my preemptive running back rankings.
Yeah, I put him at top 5. This offense is only getting better with this. I mean, Aaron Jones was fine. No, he really wasn't. He had a really bad year. That whole running
he didn't. His playoff stretch. His playoff stretch was really powerful at the end of the season.
Yeah, and Josh Jacobs, I guess we'll see how he does in the cold weather months. He hasn't really had those Lambeau games yet, so that'll be interesting playing in Vegas. And I don't know if he ever played in Oakland. I don't think so. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see him in the cold weather. But he's a big guy. He should be fine.
For sure. Okay, moving on from the new Packers to the old Packers running back. That is Aaron Jones, who signed with the Minnesota Vikings, the Revenge Tour. Joe, what do you feel about the team up north?
I love how Aaron Jones just said "fuck you" and went to the Minnesota Vikings. They asked him to take a pay cut for the second year in a row, and he was like, "No, I'm not taking another pay cut." So now they're paying him $12 million in dead cap and then 15 to Jacobs when they, could have kept Aaron Jones. I mean, he did really good in the playoffs. He was solid. Now he has a chance to go to Minnesota. Listen, the weapons in Minnesota are ridiculous. Sam Darnold is not ridiculous. So his success rate really hinges on Sam Darnold's ability to get this offense going.
Yeah, I honestly don't know what the Minnesota Vikings are doing in general. I don't know if we're planning on talking about Sam Darnold at all, but the downgrade from Kirk Cousins to Sam Darnold and then the, I guess, upgrade at running back. I mean, It makes sense. I don't understand why Packers always seem to go to the Vikings at this point, but that seems to be the case. But Aaron Jones, he'll be fine. I think he'll be good because the line's not terrible. They got Justin Jefferson to stretch the field. He's still got a couple years left in him. He's not done by any means. But the beginning of the season last year was rough, but I think the Packers were just kind of figuring it out. Then, which is unfortunate because I think Aaron Jones might be off to a slow start. He'd be a good trade candidate midseason. I don't know how much I'll be targeting him. It depends on where the draft order lies really for him, but I don't hate it. I don't love it. It's better than Madison. It didn't work last year. We saw that.
I don't know. He seems like he's going to be a good value later in drafts because, once you get the sombrero and the gold glasses and the Packers chain off of him and he goes to the Vikings, people overdraft Packers, just something I've observed lately. So I think Jones could be a solid value later in drafts.
You're
not wrong. The value might be really good. That's what I'm saying. I just don't know yet.
It's true. I just feel like this is one of those, like, you need, you're playing musical chairs and you just got to grab a chair. And I feel like that's what Aaron Jones kind of did here because he's like, oh, there's a starting running back spot open. Like, it just happens to be in Minnesota. Let me go grab that. And everybody's like, well, you're a Packer. It's kind of not supposed to do that. But at the same time, I get it. He's going to get the most opportunity.
He did not throw as big of a middle finger as Barkley did, but yeah, he threw a big middle finger to the Packers right there.
To be fair, the Giants did not respect Saquon Barkley. Like, the fans didn't, the media members didn't. So, I mean, I'm kind of with Saquon. Like,
how do you throw for how many $1 million? I think Daniel Jones is like the 12th highest paid quarterback right now, even after this free agency. And yet you're not going to pay the reason your team has been anything, which isn't obviously great, but he's brought you to the playoffs at least twice, and just him solely. Like, I don't know how you don't respect that and go, hey, maybe we go get Gardner Minshew, or maybe we go get Sam Darnold and see what happens, because this isn't working. Daniel Jones isn't it. Like, the poor Giants, man. Honestly, I never loved or disliked the Giants, but like at this point, I just feel bad for them.
Yeah, no, it's been kind of ridiculous, but oh well, is what it is. Giants are. We'll get to that. We're getting to what they decided to do. Next on the list, we have Tony Pollard is now a Tennessee Titan. Yes, Josh, you go first.
I got to start this. So Tony Pollard, you were absolutely correct. Is way better than Zeke in 2022. In 2023, he literally regressed in everything except for touches. He just didn't look right. He needed that power back. I hate this for the Titans because they essentially have two Tony Pollards on their team now. Tyjae Spears, I won't say comps perfectly to him, obviously, unless Pollard puts on 20 pounds in the offseason, which I doubt. I hate this for Pollard managers. I also hate it for the Titans. I get what you're doing. You went out there and got a splashy signing for running back, but it was quick when Pollard went, and I was like, ooh, all right, okay. And then I don't love it. I don't love it. The Titans are not a good running team as it is. I mean, they had Derrick Henry. I think that's the reason they were a good running team, but that line is mediocre at best. You got a guy who regressed. Like, I can't believe the contract that he just got for playing like shit, in my opinion. And being like, I can understand if he was like the last running back signed out of all these guys, but he was one of the first. Like, I think he was second or third.
Because I think Tony Pollard's a good running back. I mean, they signed Cushenberry. We think they might go offensive line with their first pick with Joe Alt. They got Skoronski last year. Their offense is sick now. I mean, they actually have a good weapon in Calvin Ridley, which we'll talk about later. But Brian Callahan made Joe Mixon. I mean, Joe Mixon averaged 51 catches a year under Callahan. So, I mean, Pollard should do the same thing. He's 2 years removed now from his injury. I think we could see good things from Tony Pollard this year.
So what I think this is going to be is kind of like, remember when they got DeMarco Murray and it was DeMarco Murray and a young Derrick Henry at the time? I feel like it could be something like that where DeMarco Murray starts the season off, where it's Tony Pollard starts the season off, but then as the season goes on, it kind of flips and flips and flips, and then Tajay is the lead back by the end of the season. Not comping Tajay to Derrick Henry. I just think the usage-wise, I think it's going to go that direction. I think if you have Tajay Spears on your roster, I would not be upset. Like, if you believed in him before, this changes nothing because he is still, I think, the back to have on this team. I still think Tony Pollard could be good because they don't have a quarterback, but I do think Spears is going to be the one you want to have by the end of the season.
I can see the Titans actually being a decent team. Is what they've done okay in this free agency. At first, I was like, why aren't you attacking the spots that matter? But they eventually did, obviously, as we'll get to, as Joe kind of alluded to. But I think my biggest thing was you got. I hate the Pollard thing because like you're not going to get the consistency out of him that you think you're going to. Like what we wanted this year was Pollard to be a top 5 running back, or I say last year, I should say. 2023 was supposed to be like Pollard, top 5 running back, top 10 running back. He's finally got the job to himself. He was 12. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't big. It was like you get a 20 and then you get a 12 and then you get a 9 and then you get an 8 and then another 20. And it's like, that's not winning you games. Like it's not what we wanted him to be. And maybe this change of scenery will help him out, and hopefully this team just turns out to be really good, or at least better than they were last year. But I don't know. I can't get that Titans taste out of my mouth from last year.
It's crazy how far apart we are on this.
But thank you for saying that, Josh. That was
I didn't like
appreciate
that.
it.
I didn't like that sentence.
Yeah, no, this one's gonna be an interesting one to rank when we get to the season, because I feel like I'm gonna have Spears ahead of Pollard, but Joe, it sounds like you're going to have Pollard well ahead of Spears.
Joe, I feel like fireball bet's brewing here. I just feel like it's been a while.
There is something to brewing. I don't know if we want to wait on it a little bit.
No, I don't. I want to do it now.
On paper now.
I don't even know what you would possibly gauge here.
Running back number 15. I don't know. What number do you think? What do you got him ranked?
Under, whatever it is.
What number do you have him ranked?
Top 15.
You think Pollard is better than RB 15 next season?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take the under. I think that's a little low on my end, but honestly, I've just been a month. I've been itching for a fireball bet.
Billy, get the ledger out.
I'm writing it down now. All right. Well, I'll finish writing this down, Joe. I'll let you just go ahead and start with this one. DeAndre Swift is a Chicago Bear. Joe, I have some crazy thoughts on this, but I'll let you go first since that's your team.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we have a good stable of running backs. I think they proved last year that's what they want to do, is do a committee situation. Swift should slot in right as the majority owner of that backfield, but he was top 5 in rushing yards last year. He had over 1,000 rushing yards. We know he's a good receiving back. And Seattle running backs under Shane Waldron, I mean, they were targeted 85 times per season in the last 2 years. And Waldron's offense ranked 4th in big play percentage rushing. And we all know that is DeAndre Swift's game. So I think our line's going to be a little bit better. And I think that Swift can have several big plays. We'll see if he holds up. That's been a problem. But I like the signing. I think it's pretty solid.
You know, I love this for you, Joe, because I know how much of a Swiftie fan you've been this entire time, the DeAndre kind. But honestly, I hate it for fantasy. You guys have really in the past have had phenomenal running back value. Montgomery, Forte, before in between all that too. Like there's always been like the running back on the Chicago Bears has always been my like diamond in the rough every draft, because nobody ever wanted him except in the drafts where I'm with you because you always want him. But like it's always like the 5th to 7th round running back that you can draft. I think Swift will go a little higher than that, obviously in redraft, but. In the same breath, at this point, there's so many mouths to feed. Like he might go that late, and it's just going to be a steal potentially if they give him the value. Khalil Herbert actually looked really good last year in the times that he played, but then Diontae Foreman it wouldn't go away, and then Roshan never really It's too early to say he's not good, but it's like more of like never really like amounted to what his rookie year could have been because there were so many mouths to feed, really. So, and now all 4 of them are there. Is Diontae Foreman still on the team?
Foreman's still a free agent, I believe.
Oh, Foreman free agent. Okay, good. That at least makes me feel a little bit better about it. But it is sad for Roshan. But
I think Swift is what they wanted Roshan to be last year. They wanted a good receiving back. They wanted a solid guy back there for third down. We know that's not Khalil Herbert's game as much. So Swift should take over that role pretty handily, and then probably take a lot away from Herbert as well. So it could be
save his value that pass catching
spot. But Billy, I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Joe, all right, kids out there, please close your ears for just 5 seconds. Joe, the Bears finished early. They were really ready to go, but they maybe finished a little earlier than they needed to. This contract, the way that they gave it to him right out the gate, free agency just barely started, and Swift was already on the board with the Bears. 3 years, $24 million. I don't think they needed to do it this fast. I don't know why they did this, to be honest with you.
I agree. He's 24. That's my only defense there is he was the youngest of the high-end running backs that were available.
But did they needed to do it on 12:01 on Monday? Like, why did they need to do it?
That's the guy
they
wanted. They obviously wanted DeAndre Swift. That he was high up on their board, and when they were the first
think
call.
the running back was the problem of the team last season? Because I could argue that they needed to finish the O-line. It wasn't the running backs that were not succeeding. They had 3 different ones. None of them could succeed. That should tell you that it's not a running back problem, that it is in fact, the line problem. And DeAndre Swift is not any stronger than any of those guys. So the fact that they didn't upgrade the O-line, what now you're going to pay a running back $8 million.
You need a 5th-round pick for a backup center, man. So we're good.
I know. I love that.
It's a little bit fire and lightning though, because Roschon I think was supposed to be this pass catching guy, like Joe said, but kind of turned into more of a bruiser. And I think if he packs on a little bit of hits the weight room hard, which I assume he's going to, because he's trying to make the team and continue to make the team. If it turns out Khalil Herbert ever goes down, I mean, it's going to be that like fire and ice type situation. Roschon's in the spot where he can be either of those guys right now. So if Herbert or Swift goes down, he's there to step up and pick up the pieces. But at the moment, Khalil Herbert and Roschon are fighting for a job. And then Swift obviously is going to be paid. So he's there. And I think that the Bears, they've always known how to throw to the running back in the past, at least not last year really, but they do know how to throw to the running back. And Swift is that like prototypical pass catching running back that we talk about all the time. So I do agree with you, Billy. I didn't really understand why that was their thing. And also I do find it funny that the first 2 picks, the last 2 free agencies, the first free agent signing was the Bears poaching someone from the Eagles each time, 12:01. TJ Edwards, and then this. Like, it's almost like Bill Belichick and the Browns, where he just used to be like, "Oh, come on over here, man. You're on my team now." I don't know what.
TJ Edwards worked out pretty good, Bill. So how about we give Foles the benefit of the doubt?
You needed that, though. You needed that.
TJ Edwards is fine. It's just it feels like they're still putting a Band-Aid over a like gash in your leg that needs like surgery, or at least it needs something to like stitch it up. But instead they just keep slapping a Band-Aid on it. It's like, well, until you actually address the problem, it's not going to matter what kind of Band-Aid. It could have Hello Kitty on it, or it could have, camo. It doesn't matter what kind of Band-Aid.
You're accusing us of premature aberulation, right? Is that what you're?
Yes.
Okay.
100%.
I just feel like it's kind of like the Titans trying to address the wrong pieces. Once again, you haven't had a wide receiver 2. We assume you're getting it in the draft. Obviously that's the case, but like I know the wide receiver class hasn't been strong, but why haven't they like signed KJ Osborne or one of these other like, wide receiver 3s yet? You literally have DJ Moore.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Like
Josh Reynolds is a bear, guaranteed. He's
Josh Reynolds out there. Yeah, I was gonna say there's obviously the running back or the wide receiver class wasn't super strong here, and I wasn't expecting you guys to go after like Calvin Ridley or anything like that, but there was options out there for like low end wide receivers, like, and obviously
they tried to go after Gabe Davis, but thank God the Jags beat us on that one.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get to the Jags. That was ridiculous. But at the same time, Joe, I feel like they could have given up a second for Diontae Johnson. I mean, something. I don't know.
A second for Diontae Johnson wouldn't have hurt. Yeah, man.
In polls we trust, man.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe they have a wide receiver out there that we don't know about. Maybe I'll bring in D-Hop. Why not? Just do something like that. That would be funny.
One of these days we'll get through
Josh Gordon.
Flash.
All right. We will get through these next 3 might be kind of quick. I don't know, but we'll see. Joe Mixon was originally going to be released, but instead they decided to actually trade him to the Houston Texans. I would just like to say that I called this because when he got supposedly released, I was like, you guys know that Texan and Mixon have 2 of the same letters involved, right? The night before it happened. And then the next day he's traded to him. And I was like, that's journalism, baby. All the time.
Killed it.
So what do you guys think about this? Does it even really move the needle that much? What do you guys think?
For one, I think the Bengals did him dirty. He took pay cut after pay cut after pay cut. I understand like that, it's a business and whatnot, but like Mixon wanted to be a Bengal for life, I'm pretty sure, and to do this. But honestly, now he gets to join one of the best teams in football, or at least one of the most up and coming best teams in football. I think it's fine. I don't like, obviously I don't think Mixon's going to be like the best fantasy asset next year, but I think the combination of him and Pierce can be really phenomenal. They obviously lost Singletary, which we'll get to in a second, but it's him and Pierce. And I know that everybody's probably down on Pierce right now after last year, but Singletary showed out. He didn't. I mean, it just comes down to the fact that, whoever's there, best running back out there. And that's, I think, how they're going to run that team out there too. So the two of them, I think, is a great backfield.
No, for sure. I think Mixon's probably exactly where he's been, kind of a lateral move in fantasy. He's going to have some big games. His season tends to be like 15 points, 10 points, 15 points, 58 points, 15 points. So, yeah, he's probably going to do the same thing with the Texans.
It's actually really a consistent running back. Yeah. Honestly, I've always liked having him. Now that he's on a new team, I'm a little worried about like how that translates. But, he's been actually one of the more consistent running backs. And like if you went to like average, not even average per game, but like how many times he's hit 10 or something like that, I'm sure he's up there on like tops if you go to like the last 4 years. So
I think having a strong veteran on that offense just will help them out, even though, Mixon's had his immaturity issues, but he's been there. He's done that. He's been to the Super Bowl.
He still is like, I mean, he's really good at mentoring the running backs that are in Cincinnati. I mean, Chase Brown took over for him-ish towards the end of last season. So, I mean, I do think that he does appreciate the youngins that come in there. I do think the Texans are not done adding to that room. I think this is just a bridge, and I think they still need to actually get what they're looking for. And I think they're going to at least find yeah. They're going to find somebody. They're going to find somebody in this draft that they're going to get in there and try to have Mixon, in and out with Pierce, and maybe try to get some kind of running back stable in there. But I don't know. For fantasy, I'm not super excited yet, but we'll see how this draft goes because that's going to mean a lot. All right. On to Austin Ekeler, who is no longer a Charger. He is now a Commander. I hate this, but Josh, would you like to take Austin Ekeler as a Commander?
I actually really like this for Austin Ekeler. He didn't get the best contract in the world. Obviously, he kind of had a down year. $4 million for the next 2 years, $4 million a piece in the next 2 years. I think Brian Robinson managers are just like, what do we do now? I know that they didn't like Antonio Gibson, but they're gonna like Austin Ekeler. I know he's not young by any means, and he had a bad season last year. That whole team had a bad season, if we're being completely honest. But Austin Ekeler can be a force in the passing game, and this team is going to have a new quarterback. I think the dump offs are going to be aplenty. Brian Robinson obviously has been a good running back his first 2 years, but as we've kind of noted, we don't understand why they hated Antonio Gibson. So I think that the difference between Antonio Gibson and Ekeler, you go out and sign someone, sure, not for a very expensive deal, but he's going to go out there and he's going to show that I'm not done yet. There's a reason he's going to a new team. He wants a new bridge. I mean, he wanted some money, obviously, but I don't think Eckler's done. I think a lot of people think that believe he is, but it'll be interesting to see. That split will be weird, but we know that at least it's fire and ice, run up the middle, and then Ekeler as the pass catching guy. So fantasy value is there still, in my opinion. Just that team needs to figure it out first.
Joe?
Yeah, James Conner under Cliff Kingsbury got 60 targets in 2022. So PPR has always been really the golden child of Austin Eckler's game, and I expect that to continue.
All right, so just on a macro level, do the Commanders think they're going to be good this year or next year? Why sign Austin Ekeler? He's not the future. So
it almost felt like everyone felt like they needed to go get a running back because there was a couple teams here that, sure, you're replacing guys.
Well, the Cowboys didn't do anything, and it's they couldn't have gotten Austin Ekeler. They're going to be.
Neither did the Raiders. The Raiders just lost Josh Jacobs. Obviously, Zamir White was fine last year, but you still you lose your starting star running back, and then you're just no, I'm good. We're good. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's very strange. I just I don't. From an overall NFL level, I just don't know why make this move. It's not like the Commanders are going to be fighting for a playoff spot next season. I don't think. They're going to have a
even stranger. They just signed Bobby Wagner too, and it's
and they got Frankie Louvu. They got Jeremy Chin. Yeah. They signed all the Panthers.
I like the Commanders team. Even the last 2 years, I've liked them. It just hasn't turned out. They're almost like the new Los Angeles Chargers. They get close and they put on good games and then they just lose and then they just play a terrible game. And then it's just what happened? We had some semblance of something. Obviously, a part of it was due to quarterback, which they seemingly are going to address in the first part of the draft. But
hopefully,
Yeah.
They're the Bears of the East, man.
We are praying that they
Watch them grab Marvin Harrison and just be like, "No, we want the best wide. We want another wide receiver.
Please do not
Sam
do this
Howell,
to me.
our God.
Yeah, that would be just.
No,
that
they're
would be
getting
just my luck.
Drake or Jaden.
That'd be nice. All right, last one on the running backs is Devin Singletary, the Saquon Barkley replacement for the Giants. And guys, they are setting Daniel Jones up. This is literally the scene in The Godfather when, they are setting up the guy in the diner to get killed. Like, this is literally that. Daniel Jones is not going to succeed with Devin Singletary. I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. He's like Matt Breida-ish. And I don't. This is a disaster, I think, for the Giants, but I don't know. Maybe you guys feel different.
Are they setting their sights on next year's quarterback class? Is there someone that we don't know that's number one?
Next year's draft, running back wise, is really good next year, but quarterback wise, it's going to be one of the worst drafts. I mean, I say that 2021 was the worst draft or 2022 was the worst draft I've ever seen, but not far off next season. Next season's almost as rough.
Justin Fields to the Giants, maybe? I mean, that would make the most sense at this point. Like, you got to
get Russ.
They should have gotten Russ. That would have made the most sense.
You just said that because you had a bet on it. But Fields would make the most sense because you at least have someone up and coming. You know what I mean? Hopefully, like, he can pick up the pieces of this team that has.
Well, they already have a quarterback under a terrible contract. Russell Wilson for $1 million is the reason to do it. Like, that's the reason they should have gotten Russ and not this Daniel Jones contract.
Fields for this cheap contract this year and then have to pay him 15-20 mil next year and then figure out a way out of Daniel Jones' contract. I mean, just I don't know.
Well, next year they can cut him, but I mean, why that?
Well, that'd be perfect for them because they pick up the fifth-year option for Fields. It's basically like, no, don't play. We're not doing that. He's not good.
I'm not saying he's good. I'm just saying he did get hurt. They don't even know. They couldn't even evaluate him this season with the new contract.
They should have. They should have known. All right, we're done. I don't know what I'm talking about.
We thought that.
Great segue into quarterbacks.
Anyway, the Giants are dead again for the 15th year in a row, it feels like. So, congrats
out
there. The
defensive line's going to be sick, though.
That is true. The defense is going to be good. The offense is just going to suck, which is where they've been for a while now. Anyway, on to the quarterbacks. We are starting with the only quarterback I feel that is super fantasy relevant, and that is Kirk Cousins to the Atlanta Falcons. Josh, are the Falcons back?
You shouldn't have started with me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I thought this was a terrible move for the Falcons. I personally understand why they did it, and I think it's gonna work this year. Sure, Kirk Cousins is 35 years old, man, and he is not getting any better. I mean, he is a QB 10 on a good season. Sure, there's some talent there, but it's not as good of the talent. Like, obviously, Bijan's amazing. We still want to see what Drake London and Pitts are going to be. We know what they did the last 3 years. Why didn't they go out and draft the quarterback instead? I would have liked to see them build a team instead of try to buy an easy win. I felt like it was lazy. It was let's just go get Kirk Cousins. Like, I would have liked Justin Fields there better. Like, 30-40 million. Kirk Cousins is like the 5th highest paid quarterback right now, and I'm sorry, that doesn't track for me. Most of those people were picked or signed as the record-breaking contracts the last year and a half, and Kirk's like right under them, and it doesn't make sense to me. Make it make sense. Kirk had Justin Jefferson the last 3-4 years. I'm not saying he can't. I want to say that this actually, Jefferson made Kirk Cousins as good as he was. Kirk Cousins did not make Justin Jefferson good. That doesn't make Drake London good. Sure, it's an upgrade for what they had. I thought this was stupid, personally. I would have rather seen them go out, make a splash, and try to get Caleb Williams or Drake May or Jaden Daniels or even J.J. McCarthy. Apparently, he's a fucking number 1 or top 6 pick at this point. But I thought it was dumb. I thought it was lazy. I think they're setting themselves up for failure because I'm not saying Kirk's going to go down or anything, but if he does, you're just like right back in the same boat, like back with Ritter. And it feels bad for Falcons fans. I think Falcons fans are mad about it personally. What do you guys think? I mean, that's just my personal opinion.
I love it. I absolutely love him coming here. I mean, one of the reasons you like Kirk Cousins in fantasy was Kevin O'Connell just had him throw the ball nonstop. But now you got Zach Robinson, who's from this exact same tree that O'Connell's from. And yeah, I mean, Stafford threw the ball 601 times in 2021. So I think the volume is going to be there for Kirk Cousins. He has really good weapons. It is a step down from the Vikings. But that's still a ton of passes, and he's got weapons, and he is actually making less money than Russ, Kyler, Deshaun Watson. So makes a ton of sense to me, especially for how weak that division is.
Fantasy wise, it's fine, but like for the team, like you built something with these three guys and you're gonna have to sign them all in consecutive years. And I understand a fourth one added on top of that would have sucked, but like, why not go build a team for the future instead of like buying a quarterback for the now?
Well, it's because they invested 3 first-round picks and 3 stud offensive players the last 3 years.
I get it. I just don't like it.
They're running low on fumes here.
I actually don't hate this idea for them because I think that you can evaluate the players that you have on the team. You can see if you need to re-sign Pitts. You can see if you need to re-sign London. Bijan, I feel like he's going to be re-signed. Maybe. I don't know. Running backs may be just completely out of the game by the time he needs to be re-signed. But you can still draft a quarterback and he can still sit behind Kirk Cousins. Not necessarily this year, but next year maybe. And you can actually make a push. This division is not that great, so there's still an opportunity for them to be good and relevant. And that's what Atlanta's wanted to be for such a long time that I feel like that's why they made the signing, just so they can finally use all of their toys. It's like, if you buy all these Lamborghinis, you got to get a driver's license. And that's kind of what Kirk Cousins is for them. And so they can just finally use all of their precious and small toys that they have around and not give them Desmond Ridder and all that where they can't use them. So I don't know. I kind of like this for the Falcons. I still think they're going to have to figure out a quarterback for the future, though. But they're going to get one cheap at the end of Kirk's reign in Atlanta. So I don't think it's that bad.
Kirk was actually playing some of his best ball when Jefferson was hurt last year of his career. So I don't think as long as the injury is okay, I like it.
Yeah, I just don't know if he's a winning player because how
that's the problem is for the team, for once again, for fantasy, this is great. Obviously, any Drake London Pitts, people are rejoicing in the streets. Bijan was doing it on his own; he's fine. But like for the team, man, like a Falcons fan's got to be like, what the? We're tying ourselves to $180 million to this old guy, like till he's 39. Like, I don't know. I don't know.
I think if he is for sure ready week 1, which is what all the reports are saying, I think they'll be fine with this.
It'll be a fun year. It just won't result in anything. I think that's my thing.
They're definitely better than the Panthers. They're definitely we'll get to the Buccaneers, and then they're definitely better than the Saints. So I don't know. I would still do it. All right, let's move on to Russell Wilson, who is now a Steeler. We've kind of been hinting about it this whole time. He's playing there on like a very bare minimum contract of $1 million. So I'll start this one off, guys. I'm a little bit more excited for the pieces there. They got rid of Diontae Johnson. I'm not 100% sure that they're going to be good, which I think this is going to be the first year that I'm not sure Tomlin is going to actually get to 8-8. But he did it with Kenny Pickett. So if he can do it with Kenny Pickett, he could probably do it with Russell Wilson. I don't understand what the plan is for the future because they don't seem to actually want to be a winning team. They want to just not be bad. And I don't understand why play like that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I disagree. This is the complete opposite here. We got Russell Wilson signing, 35-year-old quarterback signing for a $1 million deal. And you got 1 year, $1 million deal. And you got Kirk Cousins. Same situation. Desmond Ridder and Pickett. I think I mixed them up 1,000 times last year during the podcast. This is the same thing, except you're paying $30 million less to the other guy. Russell Wilson
is not good. It doesn't matter how much money they make.
It's a prove it deal. Russell Wilson isn't bad. He's not great. I mean, I agree that Kirk Cousins is better than Russell Wilson at this point in his career. But this is a bridge the gap. He's better than Ridder. He's better than the trash we've had since Ben Roethlisberger retired. We want to make this team like something. We almost make the playoffs every year. Our defense is good enough to get us to win games. We need a quarterback that can go out there and play some football. But they're going to go out and draft someone. They're going to maybe make that field splash, as I hinted at earlier. I think they're still going to add someone. It's not just Russell Wilson and, we'll keep Kenny Pickett, I guess. I think there is still going to be a quarterback that joins this team before the start of the season. I like this for the Steelers. I don't love Russell Wilson, but I love a $1 million contract for veteran quarterback. whether it helps the team in the locker room or whether I don't know what his locker room presence is like, but
Not
it
good.
helps the team in salary.
Not good.
Take that over the Kirk Cousins. I think that's what the Falcons should have done.
No.
And go draft
Joe, go ahead.
Jaden Daniels.
Nope. Joe,
Okay.
go ahead.
So I'm just going to reiterate that Sam Darnold signed a 1-year, $10 million deal. So getting Russell Wilson for $1 million is a slam dunk. He had 26 touchdowns last year. Kenny Pickett had 6 touchdowns last year. It might not lead to anything, but maybe Russ turns it around. I mean, I don't believe that he's just completely fallen off the way he has.
It's a
The
prove it
Steelers
deal.
are a well-run organization. The Broncos clearly are not. So I think it's a great deal. And
Yeah,
for
the Broncos
Booth
are a train
and
wreck.
Pickens and Najee, I love it.
And Warren.
I
He's
could
got-
not disagree more with you guys. I don't know if we're going to agree with this.
All
We're by the way, we also are trusting Arthur Smith as the offensive coordinator. So
Fireball
that's
bet.
awesome. Love
Russell
that.
Wilson ends the year as QB1, Billy. Top 12.
Overall or just top 12? Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, no, not overall.
Oh no. Well, at first I was like, Jesus
as
Christ.
a
Jeff. Like,
QB1. My apologies. I apologize.
yeah, I'll take that. I mean, you might as well take that shot now.
I mean,
Jesus
to be
Christ.
fair, there's a chance that they go get Fields and he starts half the year. So, I mean, I'm probably taking an L on this one, but I just want to prove
No,
that. I
the
think
only
that-
good thing about this is literally the $1 million. The rest of it, that he doesn't make the team better. He's not going to be.
Yes, he
he's
does.
done.
He's better than
Pickett
Pickett.
was so
100%.
Not
He's
that
better than
much.
Mason Rudolph. I don't
Not
even
that
want to
much.
hear that argument.
This team makes the
He's
playoffs, which they
I don't know
do
about
pretty
that.
much every year. They make the playoffs. They probably don't do much with it, but they give themselves a chance, man. That
So
defense
you
is
all
one of the best
watched the
defenses
last
in.
2 years of Russell Wilson, and this is like seriously what you guys think?
Yeah, the last
Like,
2 years
that
on
it
the
was
Denver
every
Broncos,
other
which
piece
we
around
realize
there.
is
Yeah,
we
he's had
realize
2
is-
different coaches, and one of them was Sean Payton. Like,
didn't make the
What?
team better. It wasn't Russell Wilson's fault the entire time.
Nathaniel
Yeah,
Hackett went to
it
the
was.
Jets and blew
Like,
out
that-
Aaron's Achilles, so you got to give him a break there.
That's
So,
true.
Fuck, yeah.
Nathaniel Hackett wasn't good, and
I
Russell
thought he
Wilson
was.
proved that. And then Sean Payton got there. Also, Russell Wilson wasn't good. I
I
guess
really
now we'll
thought
give
we'd
Arthur
laugh
Smith
right
a shot. I guess we'll give Arthur Smith a shot. I guess
I'm
it's
just
his
a
turn to
Sierra
figure
fan.
out if he can get Russell Wilson back.
Let's
give
get
every-
Sierra on the screen as much as Taylor Swift, please. And we'll be
Dude,
good.
I know.
way better pop singer. Tell Gabby. I
Name
don't give a
one
fuck.
Sierra song.
Shakira. No, I'm just kidding.
The same. It's not even. That's not even the right person.
I know that was the
I
joke.
love that. All right, Baker Mayfield is a Tampa Bay Buccaneer once again. This is the only re-signing that we have down here. There's a lot of more re-signings that we didn't get to. But the only reason I want to bring this up is, like, do you guys think that this actually is a good thing for the Tampa Bay, or should they have gone after a quarterback like Justin Fields? I don't know. I just want to throw people out there, but like, should they have actually made a push, or was this
No,
okay?
I think this was exactly what they needed to do. Baker brought them to the playoffs, won them a playoff game. That he showed what he can be. So I personally think that what they did here with Baker was perfect. The only thing I hated was the contract, but fortunately, that's just the inflated market that we have right now. I think if there was another,
His contract is 17th in the league, though, on average per year. So
I know, but it
it's
still
not-
seemed like a lot in my opinion. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Could have gotten Russell
Broad
Wilson for $1
stability.
million.
Okay, we can't keep using that as a bar to set. Russell Wilson has something to prove. Baker Mayfield.
Sam Darnold for 10 million, guys. You know,
No,
I'll
I
take
think it was.
Baker all day there.
I personally think it was a perfect signing for the Bucks. Like, don't even try to reinvent the wheel. You're not going out and getting someone in a draft without giving up way too much capital. And you're not gonna. What are you gonna go sign Kirk Cousins to an inflated deal? You're gonna go sign. Justin Fields was the only other option here, but like, why take something that worked last year and change it?
I'm punching the next person that says Justin Fields.
You wanted to trade him. I don't know what you want.
I want to keep him. I love Justin Fields.
I personally think that, dude, the haul you would get, just keep pushing it down the line. You'll get a quarterback eventually.
40
Either
years.
Justin Fields works or you get a quarterback eventually. It's fine.
Yeah, just
Like
make a Hall of Fame team around him. That's all that matters. All right. Yeah, we don't need to belabor the point. Baker Mayfield back at the Buccaneers. Mike Evans, too, which I'm happy for him as well. All right. Gardner Minshew is off to the Las Vegas Raiders to fight it out with AOC. Are we happy about this for the Las Vegas Raiders, who are now coached by Antonio Pierce?
Good for him. Good for Minshew. He deserves the contract. He's a great stop middle of the pack quarterback. He doesn't deserve to be a backup to Anthony Richardson, who hasn't proved it yet. Sorry, Joe. He showed. I mean, he showed what he could do. He's QB 20 on the year after sitting the first few games behind Richardson. I think what he did was fine. QB 15 on the year each year. I think he's a great backup quarterback for fantasy purposes. I think all around this is just a good thing. The Raiders, obviously, if you're not going to go draft someone, or if you're really looking to try to win some games, you got Diontae still there. Like, Minshew can go find Diontae. He found Pittman a lot, so I like it for him personally. Yeah. I also just love Gardner Minshew, man.
He is awesome. I think for fantasy, it's good. I mean, for Devontae and Jacoby Myers, I think this kills your Trey Tucker hopes and dreams for a while. Maybe Michael Mayer gets into it a little bit. I still think they do something with quarterback here. I can't imagine that they're just set on this right now. Antonio Pierce has something to prove. So
I think you're right, Josh. I think it's like a Bo Nix, Penix thing. Well, Penix might be a first round, but Bo Nix.
Yeah, I was thinking like a second round guy who still has value, who can, kind of. Bo Nix is more.
They could draft Joe Milton. It would be the exact same thing with Anthony Richardson.
Dude, that would be wild, Joe. It's not the exact same thing. Stop it.
I agree,
all right,
personally.
Let's get on to a couple of backups that we need to talk about real quick. Mac Jones was traded to the Jags. Swap of some picks. How do we feel about the Mac Jones era now that it looks like it's finally over?
I think it's perfect for him to sit behind Trevor Lawrence. If he wants to be anything, he could. Maybe this is like his Sam Darnold moment where he still wants to be in the league. He's kind of adjusting to life as a backup more so, or could potentially still be a starter. I think that the you got to rebuild at this point your brand, Mac Jones. It didn't work. It wasn't good. It wasn't all your fault, but it was partially your fault. That team never really got the wide receivers behind them. Juju Smith-Schuster wasn't the answer to wide receiver there. That offense just never looked the same without Brady. Brady made shitty wide receivers look good, or I say middle of the pack wide receivers look good. Let's put it that way. But so I think it's fine. And honestly, I like it for the Jags because at least you have a relatively competent backup. And not to mention maybe he learns for Trevor Lawrence. Maybe it lights a fire under Trevor Lawrence as well too. I mean,
that'd be nice.
His rookie season was not much lower than Trevor Lawrence average in the league. So there's potential there. And if Trevor Lawrence keeps struggling, he better keep his head on a swivel. That's all I got to say.
Oh, my God.
I don't think it's quite that. I just think it's more of hey, there's a guy who's actually competent to back me up instead of CJ Beathard or a career backup. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Lawrence hasn't been great. I do agree, but we'll get into that in the preseason rankings. Don't worry.
Better than Mac Jones, though. All right. Yes. The last one, this one broke as we started the podcast, so we don't really have that much time.
Justin Fields got traded?
No. Joe Flacco has signed with the Indianapolis Colts to back up Anthony Richardson. What do we think about that, real quick?
He said he wanted to be a starter. He's the starter of the Indianapolis Colts. And look at the Colts signing a veteran quarterback again, an old veteran quarterback. Phillip Rivers
starting for the Colts.
Who's the other one? Phillip Rivers, now Joe Flacco.
Fucking take a guy in the top five
Matt
and then bring Flacco in to start for him.
Oh, that one didn't work at all. That's why I forgot.
Jacoby Brissett was there for a year.
Yeah, I don't count that as the old guy though. I mean, he's older, but not old.
That's fair.
Yeah. No, I think that's good for the Colts. They really need a backup plan in case the Richardson thing. I'm not trying to be a dick. We don't know what's going to happen yet with that.
I do think if he's been dropped to your waiver wire, everyone out there just put in a waiver claim just in case, especially if you have Anthony Richardson. This is a great insurance policy because we saw what happened when Gardner Minshew was able to get in there. He was a nice backup plan.
They have a good receiving core. I mean, it's not great, but Pittman's phenomenally re-signed him, so that's really nice to see. So
for sure, just putting that one out because it happened right before we got on. Or right as we got on, honestly. All right, on to the wide receivers. There's only a couple to talk about so far, so we will get to those. All right, Diontae Johnson was traded from the Steelers to the Panthers. Joe, what do you feel about this? You like Diontae Johnson, I think?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a phenomenal possession receiver. I think him and Thielen kind of play the same game, but Bryce is absolutely an upgrade over Pickett and Rudolph. So I think this is really good for Diontae Johnson to go here and establish with Bryce Young at an early age because Thielen's gone after next year, right? I think.
Probably from the league.
If we're swapping for a pick swap, I mean, why not?
No, I thought this was a phenomenal move by the Panthers. I know that what they did has not been sexy. Joe put together a graphic of the picks for all the trades that they've made, all the all-stars that they've traded, and all the first-round picks they've traded just to get Bryce Young essentially and a couple other guys. This was one of the good moves. They need a wide receiver out there for him, whether it's the best receiver in the league or someone who can go out there and run a good route and get open for Bryce Young. Bryce Young's got a lot to prove, and Carolina has a lot to has a lot to show to say why this was worth it. So if they didn't go get a wide receiver, it would have been silly. And honestly, once again, we talked about it, this wide receiver class for free agents was pretty rough. So this was a good move for them. They traded a corner. I mean, Diontae Jackson's good, but I mean, I'd take a wide receiver instead.
How ridiculous are the Panthers to get rid of DJ Moore? I just keep thinking back to that. Like, they could have probably put Brian Burns in there, and that trade probably still gets done. But ridiculously, they kept Brian Burns, said they weren't going to trade him, ridiculously waved off a trade last season to the Rams.
I feel like they could have just put another 4th-round pick and like Terrace Marshall in there instead of DJ Moore and just kept DJ Moore. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Because like I get praising them for this, but I think we also forget they just it felt like at least that they just threw DJ Moore into the trade for Bryce Young just to turn around and be like, hey, we need a wide receiver. And it's like, well, no kidding. You got rid of the best one on the team. Like, that's kind of stupid now, right? Like, you of course you need a wide receiver.
To trade away a top 10 wide receiver, at least, we'll give DJ Moore that, a top 5 edge rusher, and the number 1, now let's calm down, and number 1 running back in the league in 2 consecutive years? I don't even know. It wasn't even that long. Like, what? It's not even a rebuild because you didn't get any picks out of it. You lost all of them because you went up to get Bryce Young. Like,
Tepper is legitimately one of the worst owners.
He traded away all his good players, and he doesn't have a 1st-round pick this year. Like, it's like, what are you doing? I know you guys don't know Harris, but you guys understand.
This team's terrible. It all started when they traded for Sam Darnold. They traded the 2 second-round picks for Darnold. Then they traded, not a lot for Baker Mayfield given, but they did trade for Baker Mayfield, and then started just selling the team off in parts. It's just a bizarre situation. Carolina, I do not envy them at all. Like, that team is in a lost space right now, and I don't know how they come back. I don't know how they come back because I know what they're hoping for Bryce Young, but he's never going to get there. I'm sorry. It's never going to happen. I'm calling it now. Calling his career right now.
I have hope that St. Louis somehow gets to get the Jaguars to relocate to our team. They got to build a new stadium in Jacksonville, and I don't think they want to with the terrible team that they have. I would love to see the Panthers.
You're talking about the Panthers or the Jaguars?
Panthers. The Panthers.
Why did you say Jaguars?
Did I say Jaguars? I'm sorry, because they've been linked to the Jaguars before, Sanad Khan or whatever.
Sorry. I was
the
having
Panthers.
a stroke there for a second.
Big cat, you know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, no, the
Lions are coming to St. Louis. What, Josh?
Here we go.
Yeah, Lions and Tigers and Bears. Oh my. Bengals too.
Jesus,
whole lot of cat teams,
guys. It's my first mix-up after a month. Like, you guys should give me some grace here.
A mulligan? Okay, you'll have one. All right, on to the next wide receiver. That is Jerry Jeudy. He has been traded from the Denver Broncos to the Browns. Felt like this trade's been coming for 2 years now, and we're finally here. So, Josh, after all this time, how do you feel about Jerry Jeudy being on the Browns?
I actually personally love it. I think Jeudy is what he is. He's a wide receiver too. He's a good wide receiver too. Nice. But honestly, the only thing I hate for this is stock of Elijah Moore, unless Amari Cooper is going to somehow leave that team, which I thought there were some rumors at some point about Amari Cooper leaving or not being happy or something. But with the 3 of them, though, I mean, this is literally just like, hey, Deshaun Watson, if you can't get it done with this receiver group, you got an issue. It's you, and it's not us anymore. Like, we've helped you. Like, a lot of teams don't even go get themselves 1 wide receiver, much less a 2nd wide receiver. But to go get a 3rd wide receiver now, like, I know that Elijah Moore probably isn't like as highly coveted in some circles, but for us, we recognize there's talent there. Jerry Jeudy and then Amari Cooper. I mean, you've poached 3 good wide receivers from other teams. Obviously, the Browns don't know how to draft a wide receiver, but they'll figure it out one day. And I just think that this is just a great cast for Deshaun Watson. And if you can't do it at this point, then you're done, man. And the fact that you got a second chance is already wild.
Yeah, they're doing everything in their power to make this Deshaun Watson situation not look dumb as hell. So get him a weapon. He's a free agent next year, and he's going to play second fiddle to Amari Cooper, and he's going to pout. He's going to be a diva, and it's not going to get you anything.
I know you hate Jerry Jeudy.
I know what's going to happen is like week 11, Jameis is going to come in because Deshaun Watson broke his other shoulder. And then he's going to throw like 3 touchdowns to Jeudy and like 3 interceptions for 500 yards. And then everyone's going to be all hyped about Jameis next year. And Judy's going to get a big contract and he's going to suck again. It's going to happen.
If Watson goes down and I'm not already playing Jeudy, I'm playing Jeudy that game just because you called it.
Yeah. Oh, in DFS, I will have Jeudy everywhere because Jameis is just like, fuck it, I'm throwing it to Jeudy every time.
Yeah, to be honest, if you have Jerry Jeudy, I would suggest best ball would be the place to grab him, maybe not redraft. Because him and Elijah Moore.
I actually disagree. I think redraft might be the place to get him. I think he'll be cheap enough. Like, I don't think you're gonna.
I mean, sure, but I don't know when you're ever gonna feel comfortable to start him because him and Elijah Moore live on the same street. So who is going to be the one in that game? Who in the world knows? It's going to be, luck of the draw with Deshaun Watson. So
it was luck of the draw with just Elijah Moore and Amari Cooper last year.
Well, that's true too. I just don't get this. I don't
fantasy
know.
wise.
I mean, I guess it was cheap. It was cheap enough. So I guess why not make that move? But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. I feel like I just brought somebody else in, but they can't evaluate a wide receiver either. So
you're thinking with fantasy brain though right now. As a team, it's great to see. Like we don't see it often where there's 3 great wide receivers. I mean, the closest thing we've had to that was the Bengals.
Great is kind of a strong word to use about this core.
Wide receivers. Okay, my apologies. I like all 3 of these wide receivers personally. So
I don't hate them. I just don't think you're winning something meaningful with this offense. The defense is really good, but I don't see this offense. I mean, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it's different.
It all comes down to Chubb's health, but I personally think that they'll be fine.
Okay. Well, there will be a fireball bet on this at some point. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but we will get there. All right. We'll move on to the actual free agent signings. The first one I got down is Darnell Mooney. He is now an Atlanta Falcon. So I actually kind of love this because they need a wide receiver too. And that is what Darnell Mooney needs to be. So with Kirk Cousins having a second fiddle to Drake London, I actually think this is really good. He's better than Mac Hollins or Olamide Zaccheaus, all the random other guys they've had in that. So I actually kind of love this for Atlanta.
Same. I'm a big Mooney fan. Obviously, 2021 was a big breakout season for him. The team's been trash ever since. And then obviously DJ Moore got there. So naturally took that. I mean, I wouldn't say regression. He pretty much did the same thing the last 2 years. I think a new change of scenery is perfect for him. He's still got a lot in the tank here. He's a good wide receiver. And if Kirk Cousins has made Brandon Powell and KJ Osborne relevant when Jefferson was down, Addison, rookie, obviously he's already got talent. But I mean, he literally, it doesn't matter who he's thrown to. Kirk Cousins will make everyone work. He's not just a one-trick pony, as most people will say. Fantasy-wise, for Mooney, I actually kind of like it. And you're getting him super late in redraft. I think he's pretty cheap in Dynasty at the moment, too. I think you could probably buy him for pretty low.
Yeah, that's for sure.
4th round pick last year. Got him. So, I mean, honestly, for Mooney, I love the talent. And finally, we have a match made in heaven. Mooney was had the highest number of inaccurate deep targets over the last 3 years. And Kirk actually was top in the NFL over that time with deep ball accuracy. So, yeah, Mooney is going to be a big play threat for them, and we should see probably his best season in the NFL.
For sure. I'm happy for him. All right, 2 more. Gabe Davis, now a Jacksonville Jaguar. Guys, I was listening to another podcast. I will fully shout it out. It was the Ringer NFL show. And they were saying how the Jacksonville Jaguars are the laziest team ever when it comes to signing free agents. Because Christian Kirk, when he signed there, the biggest game he had that season was against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So what do? They go and overpay him the next offseason when he's a free agent. So now we have Gabe Davis, who came to play against the Jaguars, had 100 yards, a touchdown or 2, and then they signed him to the team. So they're literally just evaluating the players that come and play against them. I don't understand what the Jags are doing. This does not fit the need to fill Calvin Ridley's spot, so I don't know. Don't get it.
I mean, Gabe Davis has been all. I mean, I don't think this is what he is, but this is how he's been used on the Bills, is that deep threat, the deep ball guy. And I mean, I can understand them thinking, Trevor Lawrence, you're supposed to be this deep ball guy, but he's not really a deep ball guy. He's an Evan Ingram guy. I mean, slot, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, those kind of guys. That's
Christian Kirk.
Christian Kirk, perfect for him as well. Calvin Ridley, really sure, Ridley's also kind of that deep ball guy. You replace him with Gabe Davis, a little bit taller, I'd say more proven, but to pay this man $13 million to catch the ball every three downs or 14 downs, sure, it could work out, but is it going to?
No.
He's consistent in a way where if you look at his stats from a year total, it looks consistent, but in a game to game consistency, it's not there.
Darnell Mooney signed the exact same contract that he signed. I would much rather have Darnell Mooney. Gabe Davis is a one-trick pony, and he's not that good at that trick.
Nope. He was in that one game. We all just still remember how good he was in that one game against the Chiefs, and we just keep thinking that that's going to come back out eventually, and it's just not. That was a fluke what happened there. And while I'm happy for him, it's just if best ball, sure, take him, because the 3 games that he pops off this season with Trevor Lawrence, you're going to be happy that you had him on your best ball team. But in redraft, when are you ever going to feel good playing him? I just don't there's no reason to feel good about it. I don't know. I will probably not have many shares of Gabe Davis. I'm off the train officially.
Well, he gets about 4-ish targets a game, and he catches about half of them. So that's 2 catches a game, and you need to hope for one of those to be a touchdown. I mean, you can maybe bump that up to 3 catches a game, 5 targets, 6 targets, but he's literally he catches 50% of the balls. I mean, I understand some of those are uncatchable, but not 50 of 90 are uncatchable. Yeah, I've never been a Gabe Davis guy personally.
It's true. I think the only reason he signed with Jacksonville is because he went to school in Central Florida, and I think he just wanted to move closer to where he's from. So happy for him. All right, last player on the list. This one just happened today as well. I'm pretty sure. Yes. Because Joe texted me about it. Calvin Ridley is now a Tennessee Titan. Guys, right off the top, what do we feel about this?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really like it. I bitched and complained about the Titans not going out and getting what they needed, which was a wide receiver, and then they did it, and it was Calvin Ridley, and I hated it. So now it's Treylon Burks. I assume Hopkins is still there for another year, and then Ridley, and all 3 of those guys. If you looked at them from what they were either they have been or are supposed to be for Treylon Burks, the wide receiver room looks amazing. I would love it. But is Will Levis going to be able to find all 3 of these guys? Or is there going to be any consistency whatsoever? Fantasy wise, I hate it. I love it for the Titans. I think it was exactly what they needed to do. Fantasy wise, I am just so mad. I have Calvin Ridley in 2 keeper leagues. I don't know. Maybe it'll work. But at the moment, I'm not optimistic.
Joe?
I mean, I agree with Josh. I like the signing. It's cool that he somehow pulled off a $100 million contract. I have no idea how that happened, but
especially so late in free agency.
Yeah, and he's 30 years old. He's gonna be 34 by the time the damn contract's up. I mean, I don't know. I think Hopkins and Ridley and Burks are all kind of the same dude. I know they play different roles, but Levis seems to target them 6 yards downfield, 7 yards downfield. I know he's got an arm, but we got to see him use it because he's got all these deep weapons, these deep threats on his team, and let Hopkins be the possession guy and get Burks going, and Ridley can just stretch the defense. I think it could work. I don't know.
I know it's super late in his career at this point, but Ridley needs to turn into a slot receiver in this offense. He needs to be in the slot, and the other 2 need to be on the outside. Treylon Burks and Hopkins. I mean, Hopkins, I guess, could be in the slot, but at 32 or 33, whatever his age is, Ridley, you're the little guy. You're the slot guy, and you need to be that guy, and you'll actually get more from it. I'm assuming he's capable. I just don't know if he's willing. I think everyone wants to be the home run guy when in reality, not everyone's Deshaun Jackson. You're not going to go catch you're not going to make the catch and get an 80-yard touchdown every play. Like, it's just not what it is. Like,
do the Titans try to sign Zay Jones just to have him there so Ridley can actually play well?
Yeah, they need to, at least to have him there for moral support, I guess.
I think he's still signed on the Jags, unfortunately, unless they got a trade for him.
They need to make a trade.
Yeah, so when the signing got announced, Adam Schefter tweeted out that he had 209 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns in 2 games last season against the Titans. Ridley went over 100 receiving yards in both games. So this, again, kind of feeds into, I think just some GMs are just lazy, man. They just see them pop off against their team, and they're just like, yeah, let me get that guy because he did that against us. But it's just so dumb because, honestly, guys, Marquise Brown would have probably been the better fit here. What he's been molded into in Arizona is kind of what they could have used as a slot player.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong.
And made a lot more sense. But, yeah, and you could have paid him less. So I don't know why you didn't do that, but whatever. Like, I get it. You've seen Ridley pop off against you twice. Let's go grab him. He can be on our
Let's
team.
not let that happen again.
I know.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. I'm really glad you mentioned this because this is the same effect that like primetime games have on people. Because like I noticed that I'll get a plethora of trades, whether it's IDP or offense or quarterback or running back or rider, whatever position, after they play a primetime game. Sunday night football, Monday night football. Matt Forte, I'm just looking at the Bears stuff in the background. Joe's here. So Matt Forte runs for 190 yards. I'm getting offers the next day. If he did that in the 3 o'clock window, I'm not getting that. Like, he had 150 yards, but it wasn't that big of a deal. Like, I didn't see it. It's very, very reminiscent of that. Like there's always, or like, you get an IDP guy who has 2 sacks and 4 tackles and you're like, yep, and you get a trade offer for him because the guy actually physically saw the tape. So yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they are just lazy and they're not actually watching tape or they're not actually like doing the research.
It's America.
I never noticed it until today.
It's what our society is built upon.
Yeah, we saw it, so therefore I hate it or I want it.
Yeah, I had never noticed it until I was listening to that today, and then I was like, that does seem to happen, and it's very strange that it happens that way, but whatever, it's very odd. It's an odd sport. All right. Is there anybody else out there that we did not talk about that you guys would like to talk about? Gus Edwards, Zach Moss, Antonio Gibson's with the Patriots. That's weird as hell.
I actually kind of like that for the Patriots. Okay. Kind of like a backup to Ramondre Stevenson more so than anything. Like, I mean, I don't think they're really ever going to go to like the 2-down back anymore, especially now that Belichick's gone. Oh, is Belichick gone anywhere?
No, he's not coaching this year.
Oh, okay. So he's taking this year off. Got it. Okay. I was sitting here like, why wouldn't they sign him before free agency? If that makes sense. I've been in a
leap year.
It's a leap year. You can't coach this year.
Just go trade for Christian Kirk. Billy hit it right on the head when we did our free agency pod a while back on who to trade for. Go get Christian Kirk. So he's going to have all the targets in the world this year.
I actually do really agree with that. I didn't hear that podcast, but I do agree with that because Christian Kirk, especially with Ridley out there, like not out there, I feel like it was for a while, there was a competition, like one game would be Kirk, one game would be Ridley. Without him there, like sure, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram, going to get their targets and stuff, but Christian Kirk is that dude now.
Yeah. Also, and then we didn't bring up any tight ends, but I didn't really feel like there's anybody that we really needed to talk about. The top 3 re-signed with their teams. Top 3 is kind of a stretch even at that. But like Gerald Everett's on the Bears, like I guess that kind of moves the needle, but not really because they've already got a tight end
backup.
There. Exactly. So it's not even really that big of a deal. Just want to kind of read some of the names that are still available so that we plan to do 2 episodes of free agency with the names available. I don't think that might happen. We got Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Donta Foreman, J.K. Dobbins, A.J. Dillon, Marquise Brown, Odell, Tyler Boyd, Curtis Samuel, Michael Thomas, KJ Osborne, DJ Chark. Kind of that's really just about it.
Wide receiver
guys
3s,
still available.
running back 2s, and
it's a lot of
2.5s.
Teams that are just going to fill out the mold. But all right, before we get off here, though, I do want to talk about one thing. We mentioned the Vikings signing Sam Darnold. Does this all but verify that they're going to draft a quarterback? And if so, are they going to move up for one, or are they just going to really go for J.J. McCarthy and just hope for the best? What if they get sniped? What's the plan?
Yeah, the Sam Darnold thing was weird. Like I I mean, they didn't pay him great, but they paid him better than backup money. So it was like, this is their starting quarterback. And it's like, you need someone. It's Justin Jefferson, man. Like, I mean, they say they're not going to trade him, blah, blah, blah. He's going to request a trade. Like, if you roll out Sam Darnold and have no succession plan, like Justin Jefferson, sure, he's going to come back from injury, but yeah, I hate it for the Vikings.
They got Trey Lance in their back pocket, man. That was their plan all along.
That would be insane if they traded
for
Trey Lance.
I honestly think they thought Kirk was going to come back. I think that was their plan all along. And then the Falcons swooped in, and they're kind of like, oh, shit.
And didn't make any news or anything else.
I think you're 100% right, and I think that now their kind of like hand has been forced. But if they're waiting on J.J. McCarthy at pick 11 or 12, I can't remember which one they have. If they're hoping for that, like easily someone could swoop up above them and take him, and then what in the world are they going to do? Like I honestly think that this is the worst case scenario of what could have happened to them, because you're not going to start Sam Darnold and win football games. And the Packers are on the rise. I assume the Bears are going to be better. Detroit's still good. You have Justin Jefferson, man. Like, come on. You drafted Jordan Addison in the first round last season. Y'all weren't planning to lose. So, Vikings fans.
You should have had a succession plan in the first place. You had Kirk Cousins. Like, it was not the end game. You have Justin Jefferson. You have Addison now. You need someone for the – once they drafted Addison, they should have been like, shit, we need a future.
I think they plan to re-sign him and then draft and then hope that player kind of learned from Kirk. But
I could see Penix. I see this as the Penix landing spot personally, which should be right around where they're at.
I have no clue.
Actually, you talked about tight ends. I wanted to circle back to finish this off. The Gerald Everett signing for the Bears, I never did say anything to you, Joe. That is a phenomenal signing. You got another pass-catching tight end. I think that's perfect for whoever the heck it is that's playing quarterback next year. So
Shane Waldron drafted him, dude.
Yeah, I like Gerald Everett a lot. I think he's like very Zay Jones, or not Zay Jones. I literally just said his name. Tight end for the Jaguars, Evan Ingram. Very Evan Ingram, where it could turn into that kind of more wide receiver type tight end if used that way. The Chargers just don't know how to use anyone, so I feel like they're wasting Everett. And I think he's on the Rams beforehand.
I think it was a great. I think Tunyon's still under contract too, though. So I just hope Komet's value doesn't get tanked because of all the fish in the pond.
No, Komet's number one. They just paid him a lot, and then Everett's a backup tight end. That's a hey, we want a second tight end who's okay at blocking, but more so can catch the ball because we don't have a wide receiver 2 right now. And in case Adunze doesn't make it to your team, fair.
That's fair.
Like, super
Neighbors
excited
isn't making it. And we're gonna have 2 DJ Moores, and it's gonna be awesome.
DJ Neighbors.
Okay, and I also forgot, I kind of mentioned this when we were talking about running backs, but I just want to circle back just to end the pod. What do we think the Dallas Cowboys are going to do? Is it for sure going to be a draft, or do you think they might trade for someone?
Draft.
And that person's going to be starting right away?
No, I think it'll be. I mean, I'm sure they'll add someone. It's not going to be like Cordell Patterson, but like there's a couple running backs that are still out there that aren't like terrible. I guess J.K. Dobbins, he's injured, to be fair.
A.J. Dillon and Donta Foreman.
Madison. Zeke's still there, but there's no way they bite the bullet there and pay for it. Diontae Foreman.
That would be hilarious.
Damian Harris.
Someone's going to get
Cam Akers. I mean, there's some running backs out there that could like be the stopgap for this rookie that comes in who eventually takes over. But yeah, they're drafting a running back, and it might creep into the first round. I'm not going to lie.
It just seems like a Fournette landing spot, and everyone's going to draft him way too early, and it's not going to work. And
yeah,
seems like something Jerry would do.
He is. I'm pretty sure he's a free agent. I think he was just because he never ended up signing last season. I do think when we get to, we're going to be doing this in a couple weeks, doing our running back. Like if they got drafted to this place, how good would they be? I think the Cowboys are number 1. Last year it was Atlanta because we thought they were going to go for Bijan. This year, I think it's the Cowboys. Whoever gets drafted, the Cowboys.
There's no competition.
Exactly. We have a clear shot. All they have is Rico Dowdle in their way. Like, clear shot at the number 1. So, I think this is
they got Deuce Vaughn.
They do have Deuce Vaughn, Joe.
The world's smallest running back.
I think he got drafted because of his dad being there, but whatever. It is what it is.
Nepotism.
All right. That is all we have. This is the free agency pod. Next week we'll be back. Probably tie up any loose ends on free agency, potentially some big trades that could still happen. Would love to see Fields get traded midweek. That'd be awesome, just for a little splash of free agent news. Follow me at Ombre Vendor. Follow Josh at Josh Hall STL with 1H, and follow Joe at OP Joe with 2 E's. The rookie guide is coming. We still need to add a couple of players, but for all intents and purposes, it's done. So that will be coming out soon. And follow us at Offensive Points on Twitter. Please DM us, talk to us, whatever. We have another mock draft coming out in a couple weeks because free agency changes things. And we have good to go. Guys, have anything that you want to end this with?
Just glad to be back, man. Happy to talk about fantasy football. Happy to see some football action as well, too. Like next season already started at this point.
Awesome.
Very true.
All right, Joe, get us out of here.
Good night.